Good evening and welcome to the British Agenda. I'm WadgerBadger, and tonight we'll be diving straight into the heart of British politics in Project Britannia. We'll be looking at the current state of the parties, what Britain First will be doing to move our country forward, how they plan to progress, and just generally the current state of politics, and as it says in the title, the agenda is on the table. Now we are going to start with Britain First, and since their rise to power, it has been quite interesting. So we've already seen the Defence Secretary go and replaced with what some may see as a familiar face, which I can personally say. So we have Draco Octavius, or as I have known him, Valkorian Otto. Now, I just had to double check that name there because names do change from time to time, which I have done myself. Now, that is just a natural thing. So, this obviously bit of a surprise that he's only recently joined the server. Only let's just double check these. Only a day ago, so it could be it's very likely that Trenque has asked him to join as Defence Secretary because the resignation of the Defence Secretary was incredibly surprising. I mean, if we just look at the statement, it was straight after the King's speech. It is, so I'm quoting him here, it has been a great honour to serve in this historic position, but after careful consideration I decided to step down. Basic stuff. This is what you get in almost every resignation speech ever, making them on the way out. Don't make yourself look like an idiot. Don't make yourself keep your future political career in mind. Now, I'd like to express my gratitude to the public, always keeping them in mind, for their support. And then, then they compliment the armed forces. I mean, I'm not sure personally how he's got them back on track only after a few days, but I'll give him that. He's making sure he's still got the right people on his side. Now, he did say he's leaving government and parliament, but he's committed to remaining in the community. So we could see him either news company, as they're all on the rise right now, as you see I'm on here, or maybe a new political party, possibly. You never know. But could flop like the Libertarians and British Union. Now, you never know why he could have resigned when he's not specified it, but as someone who's in many UKs had to resign a lot of times, I will say it is most likely either personal reasons or, more interesting one, a falling out with the government. Now, usually when this happens, you do have a massive outing. They try and burn the whole place down as much as they can when they go out, but this probably they don't seem like the case. It just seems like personal issues. They don't want to discuss it. He's gone. So when you got a high-ranking cabinet minister out in the first few days, I will say it is quite the common occurrence in many UKs where after a few days in, people can get cold feet, things can come up, they just go straight out. So that is really the only sort of bump in the road that Britain First have hit right now, which is quite surprising. Oh, hold on, we got breaking news. Let's just look at this. I've been typed faster. Former Defence Secretary switched to now right. Former Defence Secretary switched to Tories. Now this is what I was just saying. You never know what they have in mind, and here we go. This switch. This means probably wasn't a personal issue. Definitely a disagreement within government that can the biggest plausible opportunity right now. So whatever's going on inside government may not seem as stable as Britain first looked when they were elected. So that's quite interesting. But speaking of the Tories, we did have their cabinet released today, so let's just take a look at that. So we have Mega Minor 2313, which I do recognise a lot of these names, so we're going to have to go into a lot of depth about these. Well, not a lot of depth, as much as I can give. So, Mega Minor, or it's known as Eddie, whatever, I will give him this, he's a mastermind, right? Well, not a mastermind, he's just very smart when it comes to raw politics. He's very decisive. He knows what he's doing. He's a very competent guy. Even if I was on the opposite bench, which in many UKs I have been on the opposite side. I've been on Labour fighting against his Tories. He is very good at this. He's a very charismatic, likeable, sensible person. And now we've got there Deputy Party Leader Albert P. Grantham, another one I recognise. Now, Albert, very, very, well, not very, very smart. I'm not saying he's stupid, but I don't want to hold everyone in too high regard. But Albert, very smart person as well, stuck to Eddie for a long time, and he is also charismatic and intelligent. He'd know what he's doing when it comes to this, I believe. Now, Albert, I have worked with him. I've fought against him in Parliament, many UKs, as I've said with Eddie. And honestly, these new Conservatives are looking quite sharp. So we've gone through Eddie, Albert, but Freak Sublime, they have put him in what is essentially chance of the Duchy of Lancaster is generally we need an MP, but we also want to fill up the cabinet. This person's not too smart they're not smart or liked enough for an official cabinet role, but they're not stupid enough to just be on the back bench. We need to put them to some sort of use. So I don't blame them for doing that. But we've got, oh, there's a dog barking. We've got Mark S. Patel as Chief Secretary to the Treasury. He has served in the Treasury. Oh, there's a dog barking. They served in the Treasury in many, many UKs. And with Albert, personally, that is a surprise. I've not seen Albert working in the Treasury before, but I believe they're both competent when they come to it. I've seen Mark write budgets, be able to get his head properly wrapped around how to make Lego economics work. Now, this does seem like a massive support of the Tories. It's just, I believe it's pure facts. They have shown their capability, but I personally disagree with them on many things, hence why I've worked in opposition against them. We've got Callum put in the Home Department position. So this does look like they've kind of just nudged him out, because Eddie and Albert only came in a few days ago, so it does seem that they could have just nudged him out of power to put someone more, say, competent in, who knows what they're doing, who knows how to fix the Conservatives, restore their credibility and their electoral chances. Then we got Joe 705. I've worked with him, and he's all right. So I think he could manage his position. Now we're just gonna head through the rest. Confused Capo. I do recognise that name, but I will not be looking into it anymore. We've got Cillian Clark as their candidate for Foreign Affairs Minister. Dean Marston, obviously, I said before, former Defence Secretary for Britain First. He's now working as their Defence Secretary candidate. And then we've got Will Before, who recognise that one as Minister for the Armed Forces. And then Monica Mason, Justice Secretary. Organised Owen for DCMS Secretary. Hank Jacobson, Attorney General. And then we've got Albert as Leader of the House of Commons, which I've seen him in that before. And then we've got Freak Sublime as the Deputy Leader of the House of Commons. So, once again, he's just kind of been put in a filler role. So, we can be assuming that Conservatives have gone for, we just want to get positions filled. But they've handed all the important ones to... They are all friends, but they have come to PB all at the same time, which is quite interesting. So, is this just them coming here to see? They've seen the Conservatives here. It's an in-between between Sovs and Sean's. They've gone, we want to fix this. They'll come in. I'm expecting they'll win the next election. Right now, even. I've seen what they can do. So they'll probably win that, fix whatever's going on, and then leave. So if I just scroll down a bit. And then we've just got Monica Mason left, obviously, as Justice Secretary's Lord High Chancellor. So, with the Conservatives being completely rebranded, it is pretty interesting to see, because you had Callum going into this, with that whole, yes, I know, Charles, you were on there, Charles, Leader of the House of Lords candidate Charles Kitchener, obviously former Prime Minister for the Labour Party, but he's back now. I can't blame him for going to the Conservatives, not just because I am on his payroll, but because he has worked with these people like Albert and Eddie many times before. So the current agenda, as the whole point of this show, is that we see Britain First trying to hold themselves together, but there may be some internal bit of instability in there. because you see a lot of queers. I mean, as literally like the queer family in the Britain First cabinet. Because when Sky, oh, no, Trenqueer, I almost called him Sky Queer. That's his old name there. When he came in, you saw him bring all these people who he definitely knows because of the last name. You know, the queer family. When you bring all sorts of the same Lego household into one government, I have had this firsthand. Sometimes it cannot end well, but you never know. So it's maybe it is a tightly knit cabinet where everything's kind of enclosed, apart from people like Hayden who are in there because they genuinely have the experience. And when you've got people like Dean Marston who maybe just they don't like it and they disagree with Sky. Oh, I mean Trent even. I keep using these old names, but you get the point here. So that's Britain First. And then we got the Conservatives complete rebranding, as I said. We've gone from Callum and his whole Liz Truss persona of how he's going to keep fighting for the Conservatives to, before you know it, he's just completely gone and replaced with someone who, I will just say this firsthand, is definitely much more capable and intelligent than him. Because Eddie has served in multiple UKs as Prime Minister. And I don't think Trenqueer, even though he's seen Eddie and Albert firsthand in other UKs, I don't think him or Labour leader Prophet know what they've got coming, because this is a completely new battle they're going to have to fight. It isn't some simple-minded Conservative leader. It is genuinely someone who knows what they're doing, what the aim is, how they can fight the election next time. And there's no doubt in my mind that they're already finding ways to force out the government quickly so they can just get that snap election in, so they can just jump straight into government and prove that they're ready. Now, of course, this is all a bit mind-boggling, but the switch from Callum to someone like Eddie is like it is a bit more crazy than it's actually seeming. Now, thank you, Little Dragon. I have made a 1 minute subject, 12 minute song. That is genuinely the point of this whole program. And Eddie is smart in, I should call it, about 16 different ways, because I'd say mastermind, but it would be an exaggeration because it's Lego politics. So I'd say more of just a smart person when it comes to this. Anyway, moving on to Labour and Prophet McKnight, which obviously I am an MP for Labour. So Prophet took over just before the massive, like, crushing defeat that Labour suffered at the last election. I mean, it was already crazy at the first time because we'd seen 6 months of Corby's Labour just bring complete stability, keeping the status quo in, making sure that everything runs smoothly, and then before you know it, Charles is in, then he's out, and now he's back, and then Corby's, well, he's back in, and then he's out, and then you see Prophet in here. And Prophet has not. Now, I'm like, as a Labour MP, I'm obviously at risk of saying these things, but he's turned up for 0 sessions so far. Now, there's always, of course, reasons for this. You can't just say, oh, they've not turned up for any reason, because there's always a reason behind something, unless someone just can't be bothered. Now, Prophet obviously hasn't turned up, and there hasn't been much publicity from him, aside from, it seems, being on his knees for Britain First. You've got the confidence and supply agreement. You've got him saying at the election it's between Britain First and Labour, like unofficially endorsing them. Which, when they are in their constitution, I believe, or by the EC terms, they are defined as being on the right. Unless I'm mistaken, but I don't believe I am, because it's Britain First. They're on the right, and you've still got Labour being on the left. So, unless Prophet is looking for some sort of future coalition or deal with Britain First, it is just mind-boggling how he supported them, and then he's kind of just gone radio silent after Labour got pushed this far back. Now, the state of politics is obviously interesting, but it is probably time to take a quick break. Let me get some water, take a break from my waffling about the current state of Lego politics, even. So, That's that. Quick break. When we come back, though, we will be joined by Albert P. Grantham, as I discussed earlier, Deputy Conservative Party leader, and I am sure he will have quite a few wise words to say. So, thank you, and we'll be back soon. Hello, and we are back. Welcome back to the British Agenda. And now we are joined by Deputy Conservative Party leader Albert P. Grantham. Albert, do say hello to the camera.
It's a pleasure to be here, WadgerBadger. It's a pleasure to be on your new show.
Thank you, and it is great to have you here. I mean, you've just completely, as some will put it, toppled the Conservative Party leadership, and it's quite, as I said before, it's quite crazy how he's been a long-standing member of both now the Conservatives and the Labour Party before he switched over, and he was promising that he would maintain credibility, he'd stand up for the Conservatives, a whole trust persona, and now he's been, I'd say, demoted to your Home Secretary candidate. So, I mean, could you please enlighten us on what made Callum resign?
Well, first of all, I want to pay tribute to Callum. He was a good leader. He helped stabilise the Conservatives, but I just want to re-emphasise, we did not get rid of Callum forcefully. This was not this was not a coup d'état as you think it is. He wanted to resign on his own accord, and we respect that decision. We would have backed him if he'd stayed, but he wanted to go. And we offered him the position of Home Secretary because we believe he can still bring a lot of talent to the party, a lot of experience, as you've said. He's been in this politics game here for quite a while. So we need people like that in this community, and we need people like that in this shadow cabinet that's going to hold the government to account and hopefully win the next general election.
I mean, yeah, speaking of the general election and winning it, I mean, you've just arrived in Project Tenure. Obviously, as meant to be an unbiased news presenter, so I'll try and keep out the fact that, honestly, I've seen you in other communities, at your best and at your lowest. But I mean, you're new to Project Britannia. You've come straight in with Eddie, and you've completely, as I said before, it really does seem like you've usurped the Conservative Party leadership. And even if that is not true, as you claim, I mean, it surely can't be a coincidence that as soon as you arrive, Callum just goes. I mean, as I said, this whole trust persona, he said that he was going to keep on fighting, and then the next minute, he's completely out. So, I mean, is that a coincidence that you arrive and he's gone?
Yes, but I don't. But again, there was no coup. It's just a massive coincidence, I guess. But no. Listen, on the point of we just come in, like you mentioned, we have a lot of experience in different communities, and this group. Well, it's not new, but we found it a few days ago. Actually, I'll give you a little history lesson. Me and Dan were on call. I was the one that said, I'm bored. Let's see what Hayden's in. I went on his group, saw this UK, and we decided to join it. But I had no intention of getting involved in politics for at least the first 2 hours, and then I decided, you know what, I'll have another pop at this. And I think this is me and Eddie's like, well, I can't confirm because politics is like a heroin. You always come back to it. But we were saying that
Yeah,
this might be our
right.
last. This might be our last hurrah. This might be our last time we ever get to fight an election. Have a bit of fun on here before the summer break and all that, and all the fun of
Before the real world hits you like a
yeah,
sword.
yeah, exactly. Before taxes hit and all that. Yeah. So we wanted to go out on a bang, hopefully, and look. And also, it's a challenge for us. New community, new faces. We haven't worked with most of the people in our shadow cabinet. And it's good to meet new people. It's good to see new talent, new talented up and coming politicians. Because we've been in the game for quite a while. We're like old men compared to these youthful spirits. So it's good to see what they can do. Because we shouldn't underestimate these people. They have a lot of talent, and we need to unlock this. We need to help them unlock it.
I mean, yeah, I'm a lot younger than you. Can't relate to that. All that tax paying stuff sure does suck. Anyway, this whole speaking of Hayden, he's currently in Britain First, isn't he? As Chancellor
Yes,
of
he
the.
is.
And
He is.
before I move on to him really quick, I was the Defence Secretary, the your new candidate. Obviously, like immediately after the King's speech, he announced his sudden resignation, gave no reason for it. And as I said earlier, I believe that is this some bit of instability in the British First Party? Do you believe that they've got some kind of bit of instability on there between maybe the queers and anyone who's not in that
The
Lego
what?
family? They're not there. The queer.
Listen. I don't know what goes behind closed doors in the group chat. I don't know. I don't want to find out. Well, because it probably is probably all OSA in it. But look, whatever's going on, I'm sure. Well, first of all, Sky Queer's a competent guy. I'm sure he can handle it. And yeah, but it just goes to show that it's not all roses and fairy dust in the Britain First Party, and things like this can happen. That's just the nature of the game. So yeah.
Were you not having a little plan to like there is usually as someone who's led many parts of myself and got some mischievous things, was there no plan to maybe snatch the defence secretary from his position? Did you want to get some leverage over Britain First, be like, your
Well,
defence secretary's gone to
well,
us?
look. Well, look. When someone's available on the transfer market on a free transfer, what do? You snap them up. So that's what we want to do. But it was all Dean's decision at the end of the day. There was no real convincing. I DM'd him asking, obviously, because that's what you do. He didn't just apply. But I didn't try and push for him to join. If he wanted to do something else, we always said, he can do something else. But he chose to join us. He backs Eddie. He believes in the project, and I'm glad he's on board.
I mean, I'd like to ask, did he not share with you why he left Britain First?
Well, even if he did, I wouldn't tell you.
I'll take that as well. I'll leave it up to the public to decide what that means then. But I think when you get an answer like that, it's obvious what the answer may be.
No,
Anyway,
I genuinely just can't remember.
I'm saying that. Anyway, Hayden, yes.
Let's move on
We
to
all
my
love
son.
Hayden, yes. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember when he dressed up as a woman in ZUK, and he was raised by, I believe was it you or was it Eddie or someone?
He was
Who
raised by
cares?
me. He's my son. Yeah.
Yes.
He's my son.
So, are you planning on maybe taking your estranged son back from Britain First,
Listen,
bringing him back to his home planet of the Conservatives? Before
listen,
he was a
I don't want to put any pressure on the guy. He's a great guy. I have a lot of respect for him. A lot of respect for his Formula One reviews. But look, I don't want to put any pressure on him because at the end of the day, it'd be unfair if we just said he has to join us. He has to join us. He's his own man. He's grown up to be a very strong politician, very good road politician. But if he wants to join us, we'd welcome him back with open arms. He is part of our friend group. I would say he's one of my good friends now, actually, like for real. Him, Eddie, Dan, they're all my actual friends now. So I'd welcome him back. But yeah, he's just a great guy, and whatever he does, I wish him well, especially with his Formula One really really blossoming out there.
We all
So
love Formula
yeah,
One. I'll say
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yes, we did well. Not all of Formula One, Red Bull, but
I mean, are you not disappointed at all that he's chose to go to Britain First? Not even. I mean, he was leader of the Conservatives, but then he dipped, and now he's in Britain First. Now he's doing Formula One. I mean, are you not
listen,
disappointed in him for that?
listen. We were together in the Conservative Party in much larger groups. I can live with the fact he's at a different party now, and plus he had previous commitments before we decided to join in. So yeah, it's up to him at the end of the day.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the big star of the Conservatives, Mega Miner Eddie. Now,
Yeah,
as I said earlier, as a quote by Little Dragon, he's not a mastermind. He's just smart. Now,
that about me, not Eddie.
oh, who cares? You're both on a reasonable level of intelligence anyway. Not on
Wow,
some.
thank you
Yeah,
very much, WadgerBadger.
yeah.
You're not so dumb yourself.
Oh, thank you, Albert. Anyway, enough glazing the reporter and glazing the party and being biased. I mean, I am Labour anyway. So, Eddie, obviously, very, I mean, I wouldn't say very renowned, I mean, just well
Mm.
known and liked across UK's.
Mm.
But not many here, not them. When you and Eddie first arrived, you had people saying, like, who are they? Like, what do they do? Like, what achievements have they made? As if Lego achievements even matter. I mean, they do on this show because it's me. Anyway, Eddie, do you think he has it in him to like completely wipe out Britain first, like surprise election win and just take over immediately and like take government?
I believe. Well, I've seen Mega Miner operate in many different UK's, many different political scenarios, and I know that he could bring the fight to Britain first. Whether we'd win a crushing supermajority, I think you're overestimating our talents. But I think we can definitely bring the fight to them. I think it'll be difficult because they've got more well-known people. I'd say I think they've got a decent cabinet, so I think it'd be difficult if everything stays the same. Obviously, there could be resignations, people switching and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be a good challenge between us and Britain first, and I hope the election doesn't drag on to like what May or whatever. I hope it gets a bit early because I would like this showdown, and I'd like to see what happens. But yeah, I think we could definitely bring the fight to Britain first.
Now my next question, people now for people this is specifically maybe people who've seen you in ZGK and others who know what you've been like. I mean, with quotes like "I'm gonna keep this short and snappy like my grandma's legs." Now, are we gonna see a return to when you're back in Parliament, and even if you get government, especially, are we gonna see a return to that witty, quick fire responses, that funny old Conservative Party that Albert and Eddie ran, especially with levelling up agenda? Or are we going to see a more calm, like, forgive me for saying this, but a more respected approach to any opposition that
I mean,
you've.
respect. Listen, what I did in my past with the quotes, listen, it's all in the heat of the moment, and I can't promise that I won't make those kind of remarks. You do know, Roger, I have a swearing problem in Parliament. And I'll make no secret of that. I do sometimes like to swear, cuss words, not very good. But I'll try and be a bit more respectful. But I think some of those quotes were quite good. I'll mention one. I'll treat this Parliament like I treat my wife, abusive and upfront. There's stuff like that.
Good
That
ones.
really hits home to the general public. They want a politician that gets things done, that fights in Parliament, fights hard, and I think that's the kind of man I am. But obviously, you got to be respectful to your opponents, and yeah, so I won't be trying to shoot down any King's speeches anytime soon, like I always do.
So a big like turn from what we saw from the old lively Albert. I mean, age does take a toll on someone, especially when you've had
Age.
over, over 2 years or more, like 4 years or something in raw politics. I said two
Yeah.
because I've only
All
known you
right,
for
mate.
two
Yeah, don't,
years.
all
But
right,
when
mate.
we, I mean,
It is 4 years, but
speaking of connecting with the public, when you've got former quotes from you such as "I've just been sexually offended. He was naked in a room. There was so much cock. It was terrible. Don't quote that." I mean, when you got quotes like that, which I'm struggling to even read right now, the
it's not very
public
Sky
in
News appropriate.
PB, well, they can censor it out. Oh, it's live. Uh-oh. Anyway, when you've got quotes like that, floating around, which I will say, quite witty, quite funny. Not trying to glaze
Listen,
here.
that was 3 years ago in Albert's server when we were playing a cowboy game and in some kind of video game. So I think that those are completely irrelevant from politics, but they were funny moments. But no one's going to
Well,
bring them up and be like, "Oh, how
that's
dare you
the
say that?" You know what I mean? No one's going to say that.
yeah. I mean, it says here the abusive and upfront quote, which one of the good funny ones that you've given in Parliament. The
Yeah.
public in Shadow Transfer admits the swearing problem. I mean, he just
Shut up.
has. That's from your own leader of the House of Lords. Anyway, um, I mean, we all do have a bit of a swearing problem in Parliament. So what I'm saying is, in PB, I myself, I will say, I'll say right now, maybe it was research I was conducting. The public seemed to, well, the admins don't, but the public seemed to respond more well to when a politician doesn't take it as seriously. They give policy, but when they're out in public and they're doing speeches, they don't take it like a national emergency. They do admit it's legal politics. We can just take the piss a little. It's not exactly a
Exactly,
crisis
Watcher.
that we
It's
have to
not
worry.
real life. It's not real. We're not going to send anyone to Rwanda. It's not real life, and I
I
think
mean,
people need to remember that.
yeah, the public have always, in the UK, it's actually not just PB, they've responded better to when they don't take it as seriously. They recognise it is just real politics. It's not exactly something to have a stress over. I mean, unless you're shooting the Prime Minister, well, the King in Sudan and you're
Well, they will
Jeff.
respawn at the end of the day.
Anyway, only these educated people get that joke. Anyway, the that things like this, taking it not so seriously, the public do respond better to that. So, if it helps you, would
There's a
you take
question
that
here.
route again?
Would I take that route again? Well, listen, I have right. Let's say this: me and Eddie, we don't really have much to prove. We've gone and achieved lots. I think this is more of a not a challenge. We want to help this community, but we've been here a while, so I don't think we'll be like seriously, taking everything seriously because we know the nature of the game now. We know how this all works, and we know. You can't take road politics and Roblox seriously because that's just how it is, There's a life you need to have outside of this, and you can't wrap your brain around all this and constantly. So I think we won't be taking it really seriously, but I think we'll be giving the group the respect it deserves, and the work it deserves because it's a good community. I think at the end of the day, it won't be like deadly serious.
Yeah, I mean that does make sense. So I'd like to hear some of your opinions. I know you've just arrived, but any opinion that you can give on the current party leaders. So we'll start with Trenker, as we will better know him, Skyqueer.
His Majesty the
Obviously,
King. Yeah.
final king of the UK. Anyway, what's your opinion on him as a prime minister, as a politician, as a person? Like each one of them.
To be fair, I don't really know Skyqueer that much as a person. I will keep calling him Skyqueer, by the way, because that's how I know him. I don't really know him as a person, but as someone who I've seen in the community and his education and all that, he was very dedicated to the royal family. Excuse me. He was very dedicated to the royal family. Very dedicated to his work, his education, and what I've seen from him in this group, he's a good guy. He wants to help this community. We may not down the line, we may not agree on everything, but I think his intentions are good. And that's what you want from a leader. At the end of the day, I believe that would make a better prime minister than him. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be working for him. But I think Skyquiz's also up there as a good guy, good leader, good politician. So yeah.
Right, I mean we're getting close to running out of time here, so let's catch up. You probably won't know much about him, but Prophet McKnight, the leader of the Labour Party, as I said earlier, he has not showed up to Parliament at all so far. I mean, he's just left his peerage just to join the Commons, but we've not seen any signs of him, and this is a risk, me saying this as a Labour MP, but what do you think of this? Like him not voicing, like apart from endorsing Britain first at the election, he's not shown his face anywhere else or any text anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I didn't actually know he endorsed Britain first in election. That's kind of crazy when you're like running against him, but whatever. So I've not met this prophet. He's not. There's only been 2 Parliament sessions to be fair. He might show up tomorrow, but looking forward to see if he's actually as right wing as you say he is. But yeah, I don't really know much about him. Hopefully he can get Labour back on track. We need some good competition. So yeah, if he can't, then maybe Labour should think about getting a new leader. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Now we're coming close to finishing here. That's what she said. So
You are an immature boy.
I'm too
You're an
young to
awful
make that
human.
joke. Anyway, I think Little Dragon's too even young to even hear that joke. So, final question: are you? This is kind of a big one. So, are you planning on, as you have done in the past, maybe trying to cut off Labour, I mean, he's found a way to get Labour to cut off their confidence and supply agreement with the government, motion no confidence guy out, get a general election in, and just get Eddie in right away. As you said earlier,
Well,
that you expect he'll win
well,
the
if
election. And
if this Labour Party leader is how should I say it, guzzling Britain first cock, like you say he is, then I think that won't be possible. Maybe if they get a new leader, it might be possible. But even then, I think it'd take the Britain First Party to, really mess up for that to happen, and for us even to consider a monk anyway. So, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Now, and add on to the final question. Whenever the next election comes, are you very confident that Eddie will be able to win?
What does Keir Starmer say? He's like, I won't be betting on anything with whatever he says. Sorry, that was a bit of off topic. I believe Eddie can win the next general election, but I also believe we shouldn't be overconfident. We've got good opponents. Uh, there's a good there. Britain First has a good support base, so I don't want to be overconfident and say that we're definitely going to win. It's early days, So yeah, let's wait and see what happens. We've got a long way to go.
I mean, yeah, so that'll be it for tonight. I mean, I think I've gone on for long enough.
Yeah,
I am already pretty ill and my throat's killing again. I mean, I took an ibuprofen before coming on and it's only helps a little. I mean, they don't mind that voice crack. So, thank you for coming on, Albert.
It's been a pleasure,
I was
WadgerBadger.
about to
It's
say
been a
that it's
pleasure.
been a pleasure talking to you again as well because we've not in a while, especially on
Yeah,
one of
no,
the short ones.
yeah, and I don't want to talk about it after you actually sucker punched me last election. So I don't want to. So this
Oh,
was
I
very
did,
forced of me.
didn't I?
I know. Shut
Yeah.
up! Shut up! Shut up! Cut the program. Cut the...
Yeah, anyway, yeah. Thank you for watching the first episode of the British Agenda, hosted by me, WadgerBadger. We will be on next week, Thursday at 8 p.m. GMT. God, can't wait for it to change to BST. That's gonna suck. But yeah, thank you for coming on, and good night.